Hi, I'm Sam London, designer of Firefight Tactical. I want to put together an example of play video. After I did the rules overview, I thought that did a good job describing how to play the game, but I want to do a video specifically to talk about what's going through your mind when you're playing the game. What kind of tactics can you employ? How do you evaluate the state of the game? And such like that. A couple disclaimers before I get into it. We're going to be playing through turn 3 of the scenario Purple Heart Lane, which is the American forces reaching Carentan. We're starting a few turns in. I want to develop the game a little bit before we start watching so you can kind of see the action when it's already in play. We're actually starting at the tail end of the second turn so we can watch cleanup and stuff like that. This is very unscripted. I'm really just going to play the game as both sides. We're not going to have concealment or some things that would normally be in play in this scenario because obviously I'm playing both sides. I already know what's going on. But still, it should serve to give you a good idea of how the game actually looks in play. So let's just get started. Just to catch you up on what happened in the first couple of turns, it was actually fairly eventful. We had our Americans coming in over here, and due to a very ill-fated charge by Sergeant Mason, this whole group got cut to pieces by machine gun fire from this building, and Sergeant Mason himself was killed in action. This fire squad became pinned. This assault squad managed to hold their composure. Coming in over here, we had Sergeant Dixon come in. We have this kind of patch of orchard, it turns out, that's over here on this approach to Carentan, which has given us a little bit of screening as the Americans. And then in a major turn of luck, as Sergeant Dixon's group was coming in, the MG-34 in this building became disrupted. So they are essentially jammed, however you want to visualize that. They're no longer offensively capable, so they are actively trying to fix their MG so they can go back to putting the pressure on. But that gave us the opportunity to bring in some more forces without quite as much offensive pressure. And then the last thing that happened was this assault squad came in trying to just take some shots at this building, and they themselves became disrupted in the process. So they're also waiting to get it back together. So that was the end of the second turn. We had run out of dice, so you can see there are still dice on the units and dice over here on the side. So to start the third turn, we are going to return the discarded dice. We are going to make sure we are back to the number of dice we are supposed to have in each player's private reserve. And then we need one white die for the German player. Then the rest of these are in the common pool. And as the last thing, before we get started on the third turn, we take the next die off of the game timer. So this is everything that's in our common pool, and we give them a roll. So all the 6s are immediately removed, so that red 6 will not be available this turn. And then we roll our private reserves. Okay, pretty good roll for the American. The German private reserve, also not bad. Okay, so in this scenario, I guess I should have covered this for Purple Heart Lane. The Americans are trying to get across this no man's land here and reach Carentan. What makes this scenario a little bit different is that the terrain deck, there's actually 2 of them here. We have our countryside terrain, which is this half of the battle grid, which is fed by this deck, and then we have our urban half of the scenario, which is Carentan itself, represented by this deck. The Americans, in order to win by the end of this scenario, are trying to reach Carentan and then eliminate all of the German forces there. The German forces are greatly outnumbered in this scenario, but of course they have a much better defensive position. So in this scenario, the initiative player is the American. So the American will be pulling a die first. Now, because the American is the attacker, This is kind of a common strategy in Firefight Tactical. They're going to be a little bit more motivated to pull from their private reserve because nothing happens if you deplete the dice in your private reserve. You only end the game turn if you deplete the dice in the common pool. So the attacker in a scenario will usually be more motivated to pull from their private reserve. The defender will be more motivated to pull from the common pool unless the exact die they need for a given situation is only located in their private reserve. So as I said, I'm just going to talk through all the things that are going on in my head as I play. There might be a couple of moments in there where I intentionally do something a little bit stupid to try to demonstrate how a given mechanic works. But I'm also going to assume that you've seen the rules overview, so I'm not really going to slowly, meticulously walk through everything. I'll kind of give a verbally talk through as like I go through a fire check or something, but I'm not going to describe literally everything as we go through it. So worth noting for both myself and for the German MG, a disrupted unit only discards its disrupted counter if it doesn't act during a game turn. So if there is no die and you would remove a die from a unit, you would remove the disrupted counter instead. The MG34 is probably going to do that, but I don't think I'm going to do that with my assault squad. So the first thing I'm going to do, assuming I do have the die I need, I'm going to spend this yellow 2 on this assault squad to use the smoke action. So this will allow me to deploy smoke on a adjacent terrain card and effectively modifies the terrain card. So this open ground now has smoke deployed, which is a much better terrain effect modifier, and this should help me get my forces closer to the town a little bit easier without them getting cut down. So now it goes over to the German turn. The Germans are in a fairly good position for right now, so I think I'm going to aggressively pass, and by that I mean I'm going to pass and get rid of a die that I know the American needs, which would be one of these yellow ones. So it goes back to the American player. This recon squad, we really need to close this distance. But if I get any closer, we're going to be danger close. I don't really want to wait to pop smoke. Are there any blues available? There is a blue. Okay. I might end up regretting this, but I want to be a little bit aggressive. And again, I'm teaching the game. So I'm going to pull this blue 4 and assign it to this recon squad to use their advance action. So the advance action is a move that is exactly one space, and the whole point of the advance action is that you cannot receive op fire when you are advancing. So it turns out this is a road. They went into it blind, and now they are there. They can now be fired upon as part of the German turn, which I am definitely going to do as the German player, but at least they are not subject to all of the modifiers that would happen for them moving in the open and receiving opportunity fire. So now the sentry squad, it's almost better to use this fire squad. No, it's not better. I'll just go with this. Okay, so the sentry squad is going to fire. I just need a 1 or a 2 for them to fire. There's plenty for them to choose from. They will take this yellow 1. And they're going to fire on this adjacent recon squad. So there is an additional modifier for the fact that they're adjacent. They're effectively point blank. This is very close combat. So they are going to have a -2 on the roll, which is good for them, not so good for the American. But that's going to be the only modifier. We do have the leader, Sergeant Braun, here, but his leadership value is 1, but his command radius is 0, so it's not going to affect this sentry squad. So because they are subtracting 2, they just need to roll a 10 or lower to succeed on this check. So we roll 2 dice, and together that's a 6. So that's a really solid hit. Our fire attack success margin is 4, which means that this recon squad is going to roll 2 dice, and they are going to add 4. So I actually need a 4 or lower for them to succeed on this. 7, they fail, but they did not roll doubles, so they become pinned in place. So they are pinned in the road. It goes back to the Americans' turn. It's really bumming me out that this fire squad is pinned. They're not going to take any. It's just going to be a 7. Yeah, I'm going to try to rally this fire squad. So I'm going to assign the 5 to him. And I'm just trying to hit a 7 or lower. And they got it. Great. So they're back to good order and will be available to fight on the next turn. The German player, seeing the way this is going, kind of want to move. Is there... They're going to be... If you look at the smoke, it also affects units firing from this zone. So this recon squad is not really in a good position to do anything if I try to move these guys to the other side of town. But then again, they're kind of in a pretty decent spot. I'm just going to get rid of this green 2. Sorry, yellow 2. Okay, so I passed as the German just to burn that die. And now we're going to advance with this assault squad. Not advance, we're going to move. We're going to move forward. So I'm going to take this 1. I'm going to move these guys in here into the smoke. Now they technically have 2 more movement points. So if I really wanted to, I could continue to move them in here. But that would be straight up movement and they would be eligible for opportunity fire. It seems a little dangerous. At the same time, the way things are going, this MG34 is going to be up and running again on the next turn. I think I'm going to leave it as is, though. We'll just stay there. And I'm not going to take the opportunity fire as the German. So just keep this going. I think... Yeah. No, I'm not going to do it for them. But I'm going to take this 3. I'm going to have this fire squad take cover. So, again, that just puts them in a more defensible position. So if they take fire, they are going to be less likely to become pinned. Then back to the American player. Either way, this is going to end the turn. I probably should have been a little bit more aggressive with Sergeant Dixon this turn, but... So this is a good opportunity to demonstrate how this works. I'm going to use the 5 on Sergeant Dixon to use his command ability. His command ability allows him to pull any other die immediately and then change it to whatever number that he wants and immediately assign it to a unit within his command range, which is 0. So I'm going to... I feel like I want that support squad up there. I'm going to... Actually, I don't even need to cook it. Yeah, but I don't want to give them the turn, so that's fine. This was a little bit of a waste of a die, but it was an intentional waste of a die to stop the German player from getting an extra turn. So I'm going to assign that 1 to the support squad, and they will move into the orchard. Okay, and that is the game turn. That went pretty fast, so let's go ahead and do turn 4, and we'll see what happens. So again, this would normally be when we would resolve melee. There is no melee to resolve. We would now pull off the dice. Worth noting, this MG34 did not have a die on it, so it is no longer disrupted, which is going to be a big problem for the American. And now all of the dice are returned to the pool and to the private reserves. This is faster in person than on Tabletop Simulator, but have to appreciate Tabletop Simulator for enabling easy playtest. And then the next die comes off the timer, and this is our pool for turn 4. Okay, a couple of 6s come off there. Then we roll our private reserve. Also, there's some optional rules that we're not playing with, just to... Ooh, that's a big deal. That was a shorter Probably reserved for the German. Okay. And again, the American has the initiative. Oh, and the smoke was supposed to come off at the end of the last turn. So that was off board. Okay. Now, this is a little bit of a problem because Sergeant Dixon, I would like to use his survey action, but he does not have unhindered line of sight to this card because this orchard is hindered as well as this one. It would actually trace through this one, but I can't. I would need to move him forward in order to survey with him, which means that my only real option is to scout if I want to deal with that. Scout or advance? We're going to scout. We'll see what happens. So this recon squad is going to enter here and wire. So that is horrible. Hopefully we get a better draw off the deck. Open road. Better than wire, but not much. So we are now in a very bad position. The German will definitely op fire. I don't think I'm going to waste the MG34 though. So we're just going to use this fire squad. So we will... Oh, this is actually... The die pool is not particularly great for them for offensive actions. That's going to be really good for the American player. The red die's out. Yeah, very poor options. Should I use Bronze Command? No, his only command is... Yeah, this isn't going to work out well for them. So I'm going to pull... This feels like a waste. Their op fire is going to be 3 or 2. I think I'm going to have to choose not to op fire, because otherwise it's going to leave it open for the MG34. Yeah. So we're going to let that pass. They made it to the road safely. And instead, because I don't think any of these guys are going to make it here, I'm going to do suppressing fire with this fire squad. So I'm going to pull this blue 4, put it on this fire squad, and they're going to fire on this assault squad that's in open ground over here. So the way suppressing fire works is it's a fire check at a -4, so it's as good as a modifier can get. As a reminder, you can't have modifiers that are in excess of +4 or less than -4. So it is a tremendous modifier, but there can be no game effect that causes casualties during a suppression fire check. So we're just going to be trying to beat boxcars, because boxcars are always a fail. So let's see how this goes. Too bad. That would have been incredible, but it's a suppression check, so there is no casualties. So now they just need to hit a 3 or better, because again, fire attack success margin, this is going to get capped at +4. So they need a 3 or better. And by better, I mean lower. Wow. And again, that would have been a reduction, but it's a suppression check, so they cannot become reduced. But they are definitely pinned. Okay. Back to our American player. I want to get Dixon into position, although that's certainly what the MG34 is waiting for, but we don't have any hindering terrain anymore. Yeah, we're going to need to... But now they're down. I really want to pop smoke, but I can't, given the circumstances. I mean, I can, but it would just beat it there. What to do? Can't perform it with them. They're pinned. Gotta do something. honestly, this would be the kind of moment I'd do this in real life, like normal play, so I'm going to try it. We're going to try to rally the assault squad immediately and hope for a Valor. Now, the issue here is that they are an unhindered line of sight to 2 groups. Actually, at this point, it's 3 groups. So they're going to be +3 on the roll, so I need a 3. This is long odds. This isn't going to happen. Yeah, so they remain pinned. Goes to the German player. German player is going to pass. Let's get rid of this one. No. This one. Okay. Back to the American. I kind of need that to happen. All right. No time like the present. Let's just make it happen. So I'm going to pull this. No, I'll pull this one. And we are going to coordinate with Sergeant Dixon, and he and this fire squad are going to move into this orchard. That is going to prompt op fire from the MG34. So they are going to be -3, -4 from Sergeant Braun's leadership, and then +1 from here. So they are +1 for the orchard. So that is going to be a total of -3. So they're, again, they just need not boxcars. This is a pretty easy shot for them. Okay, so that is not a casualty, and it's going to be +4 for the morale check. So Sergeant Dixon needs a 4. He becomes pinned. Because he is now pinned, the fire squad does not benefit from his leadership, so again, +4. They rolled a 5, and they needed a 2. These guys are not particularly courageous. So both of them ended up pinned in place, although, worth noting, the die is on Sergeant Dixon. This is not going well for the American player. Yeah, the German's just going to opt to pass. Things are going just fine for him. I think the next thing we're going to try to do is rally this fire squad. Yeah. So they are going to be taking, so they need a 5 or better. Oh, wait, no, that's right. They're in positive temp. So they need a 6 or lower. Sign that 4. They valored. They rally and valor. Which is wonderful timing because we needed it. Okay, so now I can resolve any action on here. There's a lot of options to choose from. Unfortunately, we're not benefiting from Dixon's leadership. That would have been really handy to throw suppressing fire on that house. I think we're going to try it anyway. All right, so we're -4, but then it's +3 from the building. So in total, we're going to be -1. So I need a 10 or lower. Pretty good shot. Okay, so we got our 6. So that's going to be our maximum modifier. So they're going to have to make checks, +4 for each of them. So Sergeant Braun requires a 4 or lower. Just doesn't make it, thankfully, for the American. MG34 then, they need... oops, what happened? They need snake eyes now. They got it. They got it, which means that they also valor. But let's complete this. And then the fire squad is going to need a 3 or lower. Okay, so they become pinned. But the MG34 valors and can take any action, so we're going to return fire. So that is going to just be the fire. Now it is not the op fire bonus, and they don't gain the benefit from Sergeant Braun. So this is just going to be they need a 9 or lower. Firing on the whole group there. They got it, so our fire attack success margin is +2. So the fire squad now needs a 4 or lower. They become pinned again. Sergeant Braun needs a, was it 7? So he needs a 5 or lower. Oops. he is eliminated, so we've lost both of our leaders. It's terrible. And now our support squad, again, needs a 5 or lower. And they become pinned. All right, moment of heroism there that played out a little well and then ended in tragedy. So that all began with just us attempting that rally. So the German player is going to... Yeah, we can't rally with this die. They're already used. I think he's just going to burn the die. Anyway, so that brings us to the end of turn 4. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how the game plays, gave you a little bit of a back and forth there. Plans didn't work out exactly the way that I thought they would, but again, this was unscripted and, chaos on the battlefield ensued. So again, I hope you got something out of this. I have more videos planned that I'll be putting out for Firefight Tactical, including some head-to-head play and eventually some demos of the Atoma system, which I'm really looking forward to sharing. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this, and thank you very much for your time.